Hello, everyone, and welcome to our ProTraining technical webinar featuring Jason Palaria from Gardner. Before we start, I'd like to review a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. Here's a quick review of what you'll see on your screen. To the left of your screen is the viewer where you can see the presentation. To the right is the control panel where you can ask questions. The control panel will collapse automatically when not in use. To keep it open, click the View menu and uncheck Auto Hide Control Panel. You have joined this webinar in listen-only mode, which means you are muted. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions by typing them into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll address them during the Q&A session. Also, via the control panel, you can download resource documents our presenter provided by going to the Handouts pane anytime during the webinar. Later today, you will receive a follow-up email containing the webinar recording. With that, let me go ahead and introduce you to today's speaker. Jason is a seasoned sales and product specialist with over 10 years of experience in the pest control industry. He has extensive knowledge of insect light traps and their applications in various industries. His sales background and expertise in product training helped many businesses increase their bottom line by selling the Gardner brand of ILTs. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jason.
All right, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you so much to Veseris for allowing me to do this presentation to the people that have attended today. So for today, I'm going to be talking about commercial fly lights, and more specifically, how you can maximize profits by selling commercial fly lights into different industries. So I got a nice presentation here today. We'll talk about a bunch of different things, but first off, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction or background with regards to Gardner and where we come from. So Gardner is a US-based company. In fact, we are a manufacturing company out of Horicon, Wisconsin, which is about an hour north of the Milwaukee area, about 2 hours north of Chicago. And we've been in business since 1908, and we're one of the top companies when it comes to developing and designing insect light traps. In fact, we've been doing this for quite a long time, and we've developed over 30 different designs for insect light traps and have several patents on a lot of our products that we've come up with specifically for use within the pest control industry. In addition to the light traps, we do stock a ton of replacement parts for all insect light traps that are on the market. That would be replacement glue boards, replacement bulbs, things like that. And one of the beauties of being a Wisconsin-based company is that we're able to do things very efficiently, ship efficiently, and manufacture products efficiently as well. We're one of the best values in the industry where we can get you products very, very quickly at a very good price. So for today, the discussion topics that I have listed here, wanted to talk a little bit about what are ILTs and why you should be using them. We'll talk about the different ILTs and where you can use them, where you should be using them, and where you can be using them. That's going to vary based on the environment. We have a ton of different styles of ILTs, and I'll kind of match up a lot of the ILTs that we make that will fit those environments that I'll be discussing. In addition, I want to talk about how you sell the fly control program that includes ILTs. I know that that is probably the hardest barrier for a lot of pest control companies out there. And I want to make sure that we come up with, or I'll display or show you some of the ideas for selling insect light traps. But in addition, when it comes to utilizing ILTs, there is replacement parts that are associated with them, and that's the glue boards and the bulbs. And I'll discuss with how you can make more money, make money on simply just servicing these insect light traps. So first things first. What is an insect light trap? So is it a bug zapper, a fly light, insect light, bug light? What is it? In general, the proper term used by most auditors in the U.S. is insect light traps. You may have seen EFKs, things like other terms as well, fly lights. But the most proper term that is typically used is ILTs. And there are two different styles of insect light traps for trapping, and these are based on the way you trap these insects. You can use a glue board, or it's termed an adhesive insect light trap, or you can use an electric grid, or what would be an electrocuting insect light trap. That would be similar to the zapping style that you're commonly referred to, like the trailer park style insect light traps. But the ones that we would be using in the pest control industry would be the commercial grade versions, which I'll go over some of those from us a little bit later here. And in addition, there are two different locations, specific styles of locations where you would be using these insect light traps. And these would be in some sensitive areas, such as where there's food production, food handling, things like that, or in non-sensitive areas where there is no food present or no sensitive materials present, as well as in exterior places in a facility. But one thing to note, ILTs are not a problem solver for the insect problem that you may have. They're used actually as a monitoring device, and they can help in control, but primarily they're used for monitoring, detecting changes within an environment that can be used for providing the best service within a particular facility you're utilizing these in. So what are some of the advantages of using insect light traps? Well, first off, they'll sustain that effective control in between visits. So they'll be on, as noted below, for 24 hours. So they'll be monitoring a particular location in a facility continuously. And then as you do service these insect light traps, you'll be able to note any changes in the environment, such as like a customer propping open a door and multiple flies are getting into a restaurant or something like that. In addition, it will maximize and limit the amount or style of hazardous chemicals that will be used for fly control. So maybe you won't have to use as much fly bait or something like that. In addition to, you can also notice any changes if you haven't rotated your fly bait or something like that with trapping more insects. In addition, they are also effective against most flies that are of concern for human health, house flies in particular. Fruit flies are somewhat attracted to or to UV light from insect light traps. You do have to place it kind of close to the source, but also think of like cluster flies, like in the fall months, things like that. It's a really good device used for monitoring and trapping some of the most common problem insects that are out there. So let's talk about the different types of the zones within a facility in which you would use insect light traps. The first zone that I want to talk about is the exterior or a refuse area outside or in a near the exterior to the building, like where you would see dumpsters, garbage cans, things like that, where fly control, fly breeding, actually I should say, is at its highest. So for these, in these locations, flies will definitely be present, and sanitation and baiting, and residual surface applications are key for controlling insects at this in these locations. This would be where you put your fly baits and your fly sprays, like Alpine or something like that, and on the exterior sides of the building, because you cannot use these chemicals inside of a building. But in addition to that, Gardner does actually make some exterior insect light traps. We have a couple of products, the AG661 or the KM240, which are designed to be used designed for outdoor use. In addition, these areas can be somewhat used to or somewhat close to air, where there's a lot of open air access to the facility, such as like a dock bay or something like that. And that's where you could also use some of our other large electric grid models. Here are some of the models from Gardner that we do make that could be used in these areas. In particular, an indoor model that would be great for use for those open air access areas, like a dock bay or something like that, would be our RG1002. We sell these in whether it be white, stainless, aluminized steel, things like that, where they're made for heavy, where there's a large volume of insects that could potentially get into a facility. This also, though, for these indoor electric grid models, you would not use these in food production areas, only in areas where there is either packaged products that are leaving the facility, or places where there is basically nothing around, just some storage of some other material for the particular facility. But they are designed for a high volume of insects, and that's why you would use something like this. Or you could use our outdoor models, like I'm displaying here, our KM240, and this is where this is a very industrial version of what I discussed with a trailer park bug zapper. This is something that will control a large volume of insects, and you'd want to mount one of these at the exterior of a building, but away from the entry points in those particular zones in that zone 1 that I had talked about. Now let's talk about zone 2. So zone 2 is inside the building, inside the warehouse and dock areas, and more towards the interior of a restaurant or a bar or something like that. So zone 2 is a key area for control. This would be something like where you're dining in a restaurant and let's say you have some flies flying around your food, things like that. Obviously you don't want that. And this is where you want to help with working with your customer for controlling with sanitation, for helping control with flying issues. But insect light traps is a primary control for monitoring in these particular locations, because again, you cannot use chemicals at the interior of a location, especially when there's food present. So, now, depending on the account, depending on where it's used, but decorative ILTs would be great for customer-facing areas, such as the dining area of a restaurant or something like that. Or you can use industrial ILTs, and this would be towards the back of the house areas, like the food prep location of a restaurant. But these would only be adhesive insect light traps, so ones that require glue boards themselves. Here's some examples for you. Some of the decorative models from Gardner. In fact, Gardner has about 6 different styles of decorative insect light traps. I've displayed some of them here. But again, these are designed for high visible areas and places where you want something to look nice in a restaurant or bar, or even an office space, break room, something like that. These would have a glue board on them, and generally with regards to the glue board, they are hidden from view. So the customers or the people working in the office or the break room or whatever, or they're sitting in the break room, they don't get to see the insects that are trapped on the glue board. That's just for convenience purposes there. But one thing to know with the decorative models is there are just a ton of different styles out there, a ton of different colors, made to fit all kinds of different settings out there, and Gardner has a ton available for that location. So. And the last location, the third and final location, is zone 3. This would be the no-fly zone. This would be towards the interior of a product-sensitive facility or a food handling facility. The goal in zone 3 is total fly prevention and elimination. So and in these locations too, there's typically going to be a lot of production going on. And this is where you'd want to use something like a durable stainless steel insect light trap, like the ones we do have from in our iFly series from Gardner. But for this particular location, these are going to be some of the very, very sensitive locations where really you can't have any flies at all. So, and here's some examples of from our iFly line. In particular, the ideal products I would think would be for these locations would be something like our iFly Pro Catch, where it's like a stainless steel larger glue board insect light trap, or even our iFly 40, which is actually a water and dust resistant insect light trap. That would be great for food production or food processing areas where insects are certainly not allowed, but it's also a very wet and very or a very dusty environment, things like that. You need something that's very durable for that particular location. Okay, next I want to talk about some of the general guidelines for light trap placement. So I'm kind of going to briefly go through this. We do have this information actually in our reference guides that we do have available on our website. But in particular, when it comes to using insect light traps, you're going to use them in areas where you would have increased fly insect activity, as I discussed, in doorways and docks. But why we say near doorways and docks, because in the insects have to have some sort of access point to a particular facility and have to have some sort of airflow into the particular facility, and that's where that's why you would want to use ILTs near these locations. You typically want to place them about 10 to 20 feet inside of those doorways and docks openings, because a gust of wind, if you were to place it too close to the door, a gust of wind can easily blow that insect past the trap, and the ILT wouldn't necessarily be attracting the insect to it. When you put these insect light traps in a particular building, you want to make sure that you are not shining the light to the exterior of the building. You don't want to pull in insects from outside. So a rule of thumb I always say is try to get the inside insects out and not the outside insects in. So that just talks about where you're aiming the UV light. And then when you're mounting the insect light traps, 20 to 50 feet is ideal for spacing them apart, but 25 feet is obviously going to be better. It will vary based on the layout of a particular location and how you can compete with light, certain obstructions that may get in the way with where the light is shining. And also, wall-mounted insect light traps is preferred, and typically locating insect light traps lower to the ground is better, but you don't want to get them too low to where you're not able to service them. But flies do spend most of their time low to the ground, which is why we typically say mounting insect light traps anywhere from 3 to 6 feet is ideal, because they will spend most of their time in that particular area. Now, how do you sell these? So making fly control a part of your service scope is the first step with regards to doing this. So you need to become, first off, an expert in fly control, and actually attending this particular or this discussion is a good first step with regards to that. But also too, you need to advertise that you know what you're talking about. When you get questions about fly control, include the fly control or insect light traps in every proposal. Have your technicians out there watching and selling and talking to these customers about this particular add-on service for controlling flies at a location. And especially in the restaurants and bars and or places like that, or even in some residential spaces, if a fly is present, you can sell fly control. We do, and Gardner does have solution for residential locations also. But you want to, when it comes to selling, fly control, not only would you be selling an insect light trap, you can sell the baiting, you can sell the exclusion services, things like that. Selling fly control will lead to other sales as well too. So the more you know about fly control and flies and things like that, the more you can help your customer, and the more you'll be able to upsell your services to them. So But in particular, when it comes to selling insect light traps, here are some kind of key ways that I think will be helpful for being able to sell. Demonstrate the insect light traps. We have a portable light like our Atomex light that is right there, shown on top of a bar in a restaurant. You can use portable insect light traps and leave them behind with your customers for say 1 to 2 weeks or something like that. And you can trap as many insects as you think, or trap as many insects within that time frame, and kind of develop your service from there. You wouldn't have to, obligate the person to purchase the light trap at that time. But what you can do is you can tell them or show them there's a particular problem in your facility, and this is what's going on. So. And when it comes to insect light traps, there's really kind of 2 ways to go about selling them. One way is rent or lease the insect light traps, and this is something where you own the insect light trap and you're leasing it out to your customer. And typically, what we see is about $20 to $30 a month is what you're doing with these insect light traps. This is typically the most profitable way to sell ILTs. Because you are in control of the equipment. Let's say the customer's contract comes up and they don't renew you take those ILTs back, clean them up, and you can take them to the next location. Or you can sell the insect light traps outright to your customer, and you can either do it in one particular fee, or you can build it into their service agreement and bill it out over, like, let's say 12 months or something like that, until the insect light trap is paid off. That way, it actually kind of gets your customer used to the cost of the insect light trap, but you won't be responsible for the insect light trap if it does break as well. And also, insect light traps need to be serviced. So servicing the ILTs is also the best way to make money on insect light traps. You have to replace a glue board, and you're also providing great service while doing that. So you're noting for any changes in the environment, any higher than normal insect activity, and you could also use that to sell other services too. So replacement glue board costs in general are pretty low. But you can charge around $10 to $25 per visit per trap per trap of insect light traps. So, and one way to kind of maximize your ability to keep your costs, maximize your costs, the low cost on insect light traps servicing, is to use a universal glue board that fits most of the ILTs that are out there. Gardner does have a universal glue board. It's our EL12907, and it fits a lot of the products that I have shown you already, as well as many of the other products that are out there that are not made by Gardner. Also, with regards to fluorescent insect light traps, those bulbs actually need to be changed every single year, and this is another selling thing to your customers. So, when in regards to fluorescence, they do have a lifespan of they have a long lifespan, but with regards to effectiveness, after a year, that effectiveness typically falls off. And what you want to do is sell that to your customer and tell them that we need to keep this operational and functioning at peak efficiency. And this is why you should offer an annual bulb change to your customer. And I recommend changing them in the spring months, typically February to April, depending upon where you're located in the US. But this keeps your insect light trap working at peak efficiency, especially during peak insect problem months, like now, basically. Gardner actually has every bulb for every insect light trap that's out there. So if you want help with finding something, whatever fits in what ILT, you can contact us or contact your CSR to find which one you need. But you'll build these costs into your contract as well too, so there's no sticker shock when you do end up selling these out, but selling these to your customers. But you got to keep this in mind, as I talked about with regards to servicing these ILTs, the more insect light traps you sell, the more glue boards you're going to use. The more glue boards you use, the more you can charge your customer. And also with bulbs, the more insect light traps you sell, the more annual your bulb replacement charges you'll have for your customer. And that'll just kind of snowball. So with regards to insect light traps and selling them, the more IoTs you have in service, the more money that can be made servicing them. So, which is that snowball effect. And this is what I talked about with regards to lamps for all insect light traps that are out there. Gardner does actually have a guide, a cross-reference wheel, as shown here. And we have one for Veseris specifically that has all of their product codes as well too. So it lists basically every style of insect light trap that's out there and the models. And all you do is you point the arrow to where that is, and that wheel will tell you which bulb goes in which insect light trap that you're looking for. In addition, we do have all those glue boards too. Here's just a few pictures with regards to what we have in stock, but there's tons more that we do have. We have all kinds of sizes for your customers, and we have it at a much better price that's out there. So you want to keep those costs low. I'd recommend looking at Gardner for all of these products too. So, but that's pretty much all of the information I have for you today. I mean, I'd be more than happy to work with you. If you have any particular question, use Gardner as a source for all of your insect light trap needs. We can certainly help you out with pretty much anything that you want. But let me recap here and talk a little bit about what we just talked about. Selling ILTs really is a great revenue source with maximizing profits for any account that you do have. Like I said, residential or commercial in particular, but we do have some products for residential too. ILTs are a monitoring tool, and that can lead to additional knowledge of the facility, as well as more sales opportunities for your technicians, for your salespeople that are out there. And whether that be using one of our portable insect light traps and dropping it off at a new customer, or using and trapping particular insects in a facility and selling additional services outside of the scope of what you currently have with them. And as I discussed, the cost barriers for insect light traps can be overcome. It's pretty easy to do. You either build the costs into your contract, or you can own your own equipment, or you can sell it outright to your customer as well. In particular, I think owning your own equipment is really the way to go. But if you don't want to do that, I mean, building that particular cost and spreading it over 12 months is a really easy way to overcome the quote unquote sticker shock with purchasing an insect light trap. And also know your options. There's tons of different styles out there, tons for different settings. Like I talked about, we have over 30 different insect light traps for all kinds of settings, and there's many ways to build those costs into your contract. And the number one way to make money maximizing your profits with regards to insect light traps is those replacement parts. Making sure you're using a universal glue board or using a low-cost glue board from us for servicing the insect light trap. Building in that replacement bulbs, the annual bulb change for your customer. That is the best way to make as much money with regards to insect light traps. The last slide I wanted to show you guys today. So, I didn't talk about it much during my presentation, but Gardner does have a new line of LED insect light traps too. Many of the designs I already showed you. They're just going to come available in LED. In particular, Gardner has just developed a bulb for that is an LED bulb actually that will fit in these ILTs. So rather than having to buy a whole new insect light trap that's out there, like our WS85 or something like that, you actually just need to swap that bulb out and use our LED that's in there too. So, so if your customer is looking for an LED option, a low-cost option in particular, you can actually just use our bulb, but also you can just purchase some of our existing designs that are out there just in the LED form. One thing to note with regards to the LEDs, they do have a 3-year lifespan on them, so you won't be changing the bulb as often too, which is another thing that your customer may like also. So other than that, that's all I have for today. I do appreciate the time, and our discussion here. So I'll open it up to Chris and to any discussions or any questions that are out there.
Jason, thank you for presenting to us today. So we're now going to go ahead and see what questions have come in through the chat. And so this first one's asking, are insect light traps an effective solution for fruit fly or mosquito control?
Yeah, I love that question, actually. That's so I kind of touched on it earlier in the presentation, but so insects, or in particular, I'm sorry, fruit flies and mosquitoes, they are somewhat attracted to UV light, and you really do got to get that insect light trap pretty close to where they are in order for it to be effective. But with regards to fruit fly control and mosquito control, I'd actually recommend for fruit fly control our fruit fly sprays that we do have out there. We actually have a line of all natural sprays that would be effective for use for controlling fruit flies at the source. And with mosquitoes and fruit flies, the main way you're going to get rid of them is to get rid of their breeding grounds or in their source of breeding, like their food source and things like that. So.
Got it. Thanks, Jason. Here's another question asking, how long do LED insect light traps last, and are they more effective?
Sure. Yeah, and I talked about it right at the end there. Our LED bulbs typically last about 3 years versus a year of fluorescence. Now, with regards to LEDs, they are about as effective as fluorescence. Let's be honest here, and that's not with just us. That's across the board. Fluorescence still is king at the moment, but as things continue to develop, I believe LED bulbs will eventually overcome or overtake fluorescence.
Got it. Well, you were so thorough in your presentation. Those are the only questions that I saw that came in through the chat. So with that, I just want to thank you, Jason, and everyone for attending today's webinar. Like I mentioned earlier, later today, you'll receive a follow-up email with a short survey and the recording of today's session. We would appreciate it if you would share your feedback. And so on behalf of our speaker and Veseris, thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.